I see it's 10:30, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll call this meeting to order, and as usual, he arrives just in time. And we missed him, obviously, last month, but it's always a pleasure to have Chaplain Bill here to lead us in the prayer and the pledge.
Please remain seated. Please remain seated. Good morning, everybody. They don't remind me of these things, and then I sit there at my desk and I get so engrossed in what I'm doing, and then I get a text. Are you coming to the meeting? Sorry about that. So good to see all of you so bright and shiny and chipper on this Monday morning. Good to see you. Let us say a word of prayer, and then we'll ask you to stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father, we're so grateful to be together today, to see this wonderful crowd for this resident meeting. Lord, we know this is such an important group, such important leaders here, and we're grateful for their lives and their attendance. May you bless each of us in this meeting today. May the meeting go so that all things that are on the agenda, may they be accomplished. We love you today. Thank you for your presence in our place here of residency and work. For it's in your name we pray. Amen. Would you stand with me, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Turn to someone and tell them how glad you are they're here today. Thank you.
Bill, as is our custom, one of the first things we do at one of these meetings is to recognize new residents that have not been to this meeting before. And as I'm talking, I'm walking right towards two that I recognize that are new. Which one of you? Both of you may speak, but if only one speaks, who's the talker?
He never says no.
Tell us who you are, how long you've been here, where you're from, where you live, etc.
So good morning, everybody, and we are excited to be here joining everybody. We're from Sea Oaks, and Sea Oaks used to be called, or is called, our Indian River Estates is Sea Oaks West. So that's how we affectionately refer to it. We lived at Sea Oaks for about 6 years. Then we came down as snowbirds for about 3 more years. And our home for the past 35 years has been Glastonbury, Connecticut. We've been living here for 1 week. And we really are enjoying ourselves. We're so happy for this decision. This is my wife, Flo. I'm Brian. I forgot to say that. And we look forward to meeting all of you as soon as we can. Oh, our apartment number is C109, right around the corner. It's 200 steps from here.
Aren't we all envious? Any other new residents for the first time? Okay, thank you. It's always a pleasure. We have a pretty full agenda, but we're going to get right into some of our preliminaries. Approval of minutes. You all received copies in one form or another of the minutes of the last meeting. I'll simply ask, are there any additions or corrections to those minutes that you received? Not seeing any. All right, we have a motion to accept and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Our treasurer's report.
Thank you, John. This is for the month of September. We opened the month with our checking account balance of $19,056. We had income of $7,600, of which $5,600 was employee appreciation and a little over $2,000 from new to you. We had expenses of $649.35, leaving a checking account balance on September 30th of $26,024. The money market continued its incredible interest rise of 15 cents. So the money market stands at $17,334, and the certificate of deposit at $2,649. So our total assets at the end of the month were $69,509. Thank you.
Any questions? I might comment too, obviously we're now in our collection period for the employee appreciation. You all have received letters relative to that. Those who do not drop off a payment this month will receive a second notice asking you to contribute. And obviously this is our one time of the year that we can really extend our appreciation to our employees officially or formally. So I encourage you all to dig deep and support that effort. Motion to approve the treasurer's report is presented. Ron, and a second. Don't need to do that. Okay, all right. That report will be filed. That's why you got to have good board members, to keep you straight up here. All right, we're going to move on. We've got a rather full agenda, and our first speaker is Erilyn.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hi, Brian and Flo. Very nice to meet you. Maybe we can chat a little bit after the meeting, but welcome. So Scott is not here today, so you're stuck with me. He will be returning on Wednesday morning. He is currently in Orlando. He serves on a public policy committee with Leading Age. So he's there safely, or he's traveling there safely, so we wish him well. And of course, a safe return back to us on Wednesday. So yes, we do have a full agenda. I do want to start with some great news. I don't know if it'll end that way, but I will start that way. We had, as of last Thursday's report, we had 0 positive residents on campus and 0 positive employees. So the last few months, as all of us know, have been touch and go. We weren't sure if those positivity rates, especially for the county of Indian River, would ever start to decline. Well, we see a sharp decline, which is good. Willowbrook Court, however, is still testing. Well, actually, last week was the last weekly testing that they had. So they are going to go back to a normal schedule, which will hopefully be monthly testing of all staff. On that same note, I did want to let the residents know that visitation will resume. It will no longer be modified. You will be allowed to visit in the residence rooms at Willowbrook Court and Oak Ridge Terrace, but not in common areas. So we had to modify the visitation quite a bit with the positivity rates being as high as they were, and we were conducting visits outdoors. But now you still have to make an appointment by either calling Jesse at Willowbrook Court or Kylie at Oak Ridge Terrace, and they will make accommodations for you to come over and visit. The residents will love it. Just as a reminder, and it came up on us really quickly, the mandates for all direct care team members to be vaccinated. October 1st has come and gone, and we did have, as of yesterday, the percentage of those staff members that were vaccinated, fully vaccinated, is now 83.7%. And those that are not fully vaccinated have at least one of the 2 Pfizer vaccinations, and that's around 57%. about 58 employees. So just know that non-direct care, their deadline to be vaccinated either with their first dose or to have their second dose is still November 1st. That is not going to change. We do know how important it is for the staff, especially those providing care to Willowbrook Court and Oak Ridge Terrace, our most vulnerable population here on campus. We do know how important it is for them to be vaccinated. So ACTS has taken a really, really strong stance on making sure that no unvaccinated staff members work in those settings. So that's a little bit of a change from our last report, whereas there were going to be some medical exemptions. Yes, we will still allow medical exemptions. However, medical exemptions, those people that are approved, they will not be allowed to work in Willowbrook Court or Oak Bridge Terrace. They will be offered perhaps other positions that they may be qualified for on campus if one is available. But if not, unfortunately, they'll be faced with the choice to be either vaccinated or find other employment. So our nursing team has been extremely busy the last 3 weeks. They have administered over 350 flu vaccines to either staff or residents here. We did know that a lot of residents had already received their flu vaccinations at other locations, supermarkets and such. During my last report, I mentioned that Publix was not issuing the $10 gift card for those that received the flu vaccines. However, I did find out some additional information for those of you that have not received your flu vaccines yet. Winn-Dixie is offering a $10 gift card, which is where I will be going this Saturday to receive my flu vaccine. Figured I could buy a chicken or a turkey or something. But if you have not received your flu vaccine and you want to receive it here at home because of convenience, you can still do that with the wellness office. So just contact one of the wellness office nurses and they'll be happy to give you that vaccine. In addition to flu vaccines, we have had 2 weeks of booster clinics for both Willowbrook Court and Oak Ridge Terrace. Willowbrook Court's booster vaccines were about 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, where they were successful in administering the COVID booster vaccine to all that wanted it at Willowbrook Court, residents anyway. And at Oak Ridge Terrace, that booster clinic was conducted last week. Very, very successful. It was executed by our staff, our nurses, not the CVS clinic employees. So, and in regards to the independent living booster clinic, we are still in the process, and I'm sure you're not surprised by this because the last time we had a booster clinic, it was the day before. So at least we have 3 more days to figure out how we're going to execute the independent living booster clinic. We will have meetings tomorrow with the corporate and regional staff for ACTS. And I am in touch with the local representative from CVS. That needs to know how we conducted our last COVID clinic. So I'll be sharing some of that information with them. I know a lot of people are wondering, will we go door to door? Will we have it in one set location? That's still to be determined because it strongly depends on the number of staff that CVS will be sending us to execute this mission, and it's a huge mission. We suspect that we will probably vaccinate about 600 residents and employees. So not a small feat, and we want to make sure that it's executed flawlessly. So over the next 2 days, I will be working feverishly with corporate staff and CVS representatives to get you more information. As we receive the information, we will definitely communicate it to all of the residents and staff here, either through a memo or reverse 911, or perhaps both. So I was hopeful to have more information by today, but unfortunately, that's all I have at this time.
Marilyn, will those be just the Pfizer vaccines then?
Just Pfizer, yes. We don't have any approvals to administer any Moderna vaccines or the Johnson & Johnson boosters at this point. Yes.
Do you know how many independent living residents have already received their booster shot? A lot of us went out and got it.
Yes. Over the past week or so, I think Thursday was the deadline to get your consents in. So we will be tallying those up to see how many residents still want the booster shot. As far as the residents that have received them already, we do have a count, but that count is not accurate because some of the people that turned in their consent forms, their information is in that pile. So once we get that data into the system, we'll have a more accurate number of who's received the boosters so far. Yes, I was getting there. If you are being vaccinated here on Thursday, please make sure that you have your card available, your CDC vaccination card available so that it can be updated. If you have received your booster vaccine somewhere else previously, please make sure that we get a copy of that card so at the wellness office or at the business office so that information can be entered into our database. And some of the information is still straggling in, so hopefully we'll have a better number for you once the booster clinic is over. Any additional? Yes, ma'am.
My card is kind of in bad shape because it's really an odd size. Can we get it replaced with the old information and then the new information?
If you had, the question is if your card is tattered, can you get another card? We do have some other cards. If you received your boosters here and we have access to the lot numbers, yes, we can give you another card. And I know that you had a concern too about your card. So if we have the lot numbers, the date it was administered, then yes, we can issue you a different card. You would do that during the clinic or go to the wellness office and explain your unique circumstance. Wellness office.
Also, if they've been laminated, apparently you have to have a new card. People I know laminated had to.
Yeah.
I had one at Publix, and I had my card laminated, and she said, no problem. She gave me a sticker that goes on the back of that card. It has everything on it that you're gonna need.
Okay. The question, the comment was, what happens if you have laminated your card already? And we had a resident here that received her booster shot at Publix, and they were able to stick a sticker outside of the lamination, so that's not a problem.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
Another question here up front.
I didn't have my hand up there. I had my booster at CVS, and they issued a whole new card to me. They took the information from the old cardboard card and wrote it down and just gave me a new card. And I gave the office a copy of that.
Okay, perfect. Yes, if you have an updated card, just please bring it to the wellness office or the front desk to either Alexis or Kim, one of the business office staff.
And, you know, I think a lot of this depends on who you're dealing with at a given location, because we had ours at CVS, and that was not the case. They used the old card. So I think you just have to be flexible.
I couldn't use my old card because the sticker was across the blank.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as we have all of your information in our database, we can give you another card.
Is there any delay between when you get the flu shot and the booster shot?
Actually, no, the question, yeah, you can actually get the flu and the booster at the same time as long as it's at different sites. Now, there is some conflicting information on that. I did hear from a resident last week that said that their doctor advised them to wait. But is it possible? Yes, it is possible for you to get the flu and the COVID booster at the same time. And I do know that one of our key staff members here received their booster and flu vaccine at the same time. There were no side effects, thankfully, and they were just fine.
Actually, that was the case with Karen and myself as well. We got both shots at the same time, one in each arm, so our arms were sore in a balanced way. The booster here is the 14th?
The booster here, the clinic date is this Thursday, October 14th. The clinic will be from 8 a.m. until about 4 a.m. Yeah, 4 a.m. Hey, let's just stay up all night for it. How about that? 4 p.m. Thank you for correcting me. 4 p.m. More information will come out by way of how we're going to execute this. The last vaccine clinic we had, we went door to door. But again, that's really dependent on how many staff members CVS will send us. So more information to come.
Can you use volunteers?
No, we have to take ownership for this one. Yeah, we have to take ownership for this one. And thankfully, we had an outpouring of staff members that made themselves available. So hopefully it'll go off without a hitch. Yes. Yes.
Would you please clarify? There are some folks that think that the booster shot is specifically formulated for the Delta variant. It's my understanding that the third shot and the booster shot are the same formulation. They're, so if you use the term booster shot, it can be interchanged with third shot.
That's correct. That's correct. It's the same, it's 0.3 milliliters. It's the same dosage that you would get from either your first or second shot. I didn't know that much, even though it was a medical question. All right, so just a couple more things. C, D, and E project is completed with the exception of signage, some new tabletops, and some more knickknacks, as Scott put it, tchotchkes, knickknacks, dust collectors, that will be purchased for the lobby, and these purchases will be done by Tina and Scott. There have already been some items that have been purchased and put out, so please don't remove them because they were strategically placed, and we don't want anything added to them as well. So another update is the residents received a notice in their cubbies regarding cleaning out the storage room areas. That deadline will be October 22nd, which is fastly approaching, which is this Friday. If you have anything on the outside of your cage, please either discard it, see if New to You would like to sell it, but it needs to be removed by October 22nd on Friday. I take a deep breath for a reason because I know this is going to come up, and my wonderful team member is standing on the left of me. I know that there have been some challenges with pests and smells that have been really unpleasant and a huge inconvenience to our residents here, to say the least. We do apologize for that. However, we do have an exterminator that has been here. We had Mike and Jeff over the weekend trying to remedy some things that were going on in the D building, along with A and B. but I have Jeff here. If someone could hand him the mic to just give a quick update on what has been done so far.
So probably for a couple weeks now, in the mornings when I get here, I go to C and D, and then A and B, and I reset the traps. I throw what the rats that I do find in the traps, I get rid of those, and then I wash the concrete out for the smell. So that's been just about every day I do that. And then as I find holes, like I've been finding holes, I seal them up. Like we found a couple in A. I found issues where they were coming in from the outside. I sealed up that. And then I sealed up something on Friday that when I went back this morning, it looks like they clawed right through it, through the stucco mix. So I'm gonna have to do maybe a piece of plywood because they can't go through that. So I'm working on it. The pest control guy is working on it. He has given me traps, and then also he's given me these black boxes that have rat poison inside it. So I'm putting them on the inside of the trash room, and he's given me a couple to put on the outside. And then I'm finding things that we'd never had here before. Like 2 weeks ago, I killed about a 5-foot snake over at between G and H on the sidewalk. It was someone told me it was a wood snake, and I got pictures of it. If anybody would like to see it,
I'll show it tomorrow at the
So I do. So what I'm saying is I don't know if they're doing all that digging and it's pushing stuff this way. I don't know if it's that, but I'm seeing things that we didn't have here before. But I'm working on it with the pest control guy. The thing is we can't spray in areas inside because if a dog goes in there or if a dog, so we're trying to be careful what we're spraying on inside the units. But I am spraying it on where the trash rooms are and setting traps each day. So I am working on it with them. So we're working on it.
One question at a time. Yes, I'll repeat it. You can just stay there. I'll just repeat the question. Yes.
There are some desirable snakes. Let's not kill snakes indiscriminately. There are some desirable snakes. Yes, that eat rats. That's right.
Well, someone suggested I take the snake and put
And
it in A
relocate
and B,
it.
and I'm like, I'm not doing that. Or take some cats and put them in there too, and I'm like, no,
Yes, Nikki.
Also, it's very important that when you open a door and bungee it so it stays open, once you have passed and brought in your groceries, please close that door. I have very often found the doors completely open, and my God, a guy could come in there, a rat, whatever, a moose at this point. And what happens is the one that are the worst ones is when they're open and left open at night. That's where the fun begins for these critters. Yeah, raccoons and all. And up to now, the only thing missing is a horse.
You know, I'm sorry, this smell and rodent issue has been going on for months. I'm so glad to hear you say, maybe, if you want your flu shot here at home. I thought that was fantastic.
Of course.
Because, well, I'm not sure. Because if this was your home and your home, how long would it take you to get rid of the smell and the rats?
I don't have an answer to that, but I'm sure it would be quickly. I would want it to be quickly. Yeah, so, Jeff, we'll give an update later on this week.
My thing is, I know what I've been doing. I've been covering holes in the drywall. I go in the trash room. I take everything out. I scrub. I'm scrubbing. I'm putting stuff like stuff that's supposed to get the urine and the smell out of the concrete. I go in there and I don't ask anybody else to do it. I'm doing it. So I'm scrubbing it out, and I've done that probably a handful of times, and I'm still doing it. So I'm.
room right now, near door 4 and 5, smells gag. And that is every day. That's not just during, that's every day.
Right, and that's why we put a fan in there, and
Right now.
we're right. So we're put a fan in there, and we're doing things.
We're talking months.
Okay.
It's not something that just happened last week.
And I don't know.
I didn't say it happened last week.
Let me just reset. I'm not sure if any of this will be solved in this meeting today at this moment. I do understand the enormity of the situation and the urgency of the situation. Scott is not here today and tomorrow either, but as soon as I leave this meeting, I will see what his availability is and see if we can get in touch with the exterminator to see what we can do immediately. So I'm sorry that I don't have more definitive answers for you today and how things are going to be handled and how quickly it will be resolved. But we'll be in discussion about it. Yes.
I have some credibility on this issue because when I was a surveyor for the state of New Jersey, when I did the inspections, licensing, and certification for health facilities, we were sent to the University of Maryland to be generalists. In other words, to have credibility in all fields, including extermination. So quickly, I want to tell you that rats are nocturnal. They come in and through opportunistic areas at night in order to feed, and they leave in the daytime. Now, one reason why you can't use extermination methods like pellets or pesticides is because you would kill the rats, and the rats then become terribly odoriferous. So you have to use traps, and the traps have to be checked every day until you have a full week with no rats in the traps. And then you move to securing the building, and that means a comprehensive attack on the entire building, the vents on the ceiling, any cracks in the ceilings, the vents under the soffits outside the buildings. And you have to look at every single entry into the building through a pipe. And then you need to inspect inside the apartments to make sure that the plumbing under the sinks is tight and completely closed off. This is the only way that you get rid of a rat problem. And I've got to tell you that when I heard about this, it freaked me out. And I have a huge gap under my front door, so I spent last night plugging it up with bath towels. And if a rat came in my apartment, I don't know what I'd do. I already had to deal with a bat in there. It was a dead bat, but still, nevertheless, you have to, you are going to have to get permission from wherever, and it's going to be expensive, but you need to get onto this, and this is the only way it can happen.
I just want to say thank you, Jeff. It's a miserable job.
Jeff, I noticed that the outer doors that go to the parking lots, there is such gaps, there isn't anything that couldn't come between, so they need to be or whatever they do to keep that so that they go to the floor, because there's gaps that you can see outside and all the way down the side of the doors and all the way across the bottom. Anything could come in.
Fire doors too, Jeff.
Okay, we're going to end this right now.
Okay.
Sorry for those who still have something to say, but I doubt it's something new. I think it's a repeat, and I think it's just a case of where the message has been sent and received, and they're doing everything they can at this point in time, and they will continue doing everything they can. But we've got a lot of things to cover today. We can't just spend all of our time on this. So, Erilyn, next
Thank
topic,
you.
please.
Lastly, We have asked the director tomorrow, and I have a feeling that this is going to continue until tomorrow. So the meeting here is at 9:30 a.m., and we also have an Ask the Director at 11 a.m. at West. So please come out. We do have a representative, a corporate representative, Rob Yancey, that will be joining us through Teams remotely to talk about some online statement and bill pay information that will be new to the residents here. So please come out, hear that important message, along with some other updates that I'll share tomorrow. And with that, I will turn it over to Lisa.
Good morning, everyone. I have just a minute to get my presentation up, so take a deep breath, stand up, and move around a little bit, and give me just a minute to prepare. Okay, that happened quicker than I thought. So if I have not met you, my name is Lisa McNeil. I am the Director of Rehab Services here at Indian River Estates. Today, I have some exciting information to share with you about our Thrive Screen program. So I'm going to try to make this as brief as possible, but please hope to get your attention. Some really good information. So we here at ACTS, we have this wonderful program we offer actually on a monthly basis at both sides of the community, east and west. We do what's called a screen. So really what the screen does, we look at strategies to find unrecognized possible conditions. We look at trying to seek out conditions that could turn into a disease in the future. The screen promotes prevention, and it allows for earlier treatment for better outcomes. So just in general, you all know what screens are, what your doctors do for you on an annual basis. You all have your weight checked, maybe your blood pressure. The doctor checks your lung sounds. You may have some annual blood work. They may recommend either a mammogram or colonoscopy. So these are all types of general screens that you all are accustomed to. Oops. So our Thrive screens, it's like having a crystal ball. So who wouldn't want to know what your future holds? So the screens that we do, they are based on scientific research. We do different assessments that are utilized and have been researched. The information that we provide for you, it's all evidence-based. And these screens have been known to be more reliable than your blood pressure being taken, your cholesterol levels being taken, and medications, in predicting the need to transition to another level of care, like assisted living or Willowbrook Court. So on the screen, we show you here the slippery slope of aging. And this is something that we utilize to, where you see the red line, that's normal aging. That's what we would expect. Over time, you may have a slow decline. What we want to prevent, and this is through us giving you information from your Thrive screens, we want to prevent that rapid decline. You'll see in the middle, the two bars in the middle, you see there's quite a rapid decline in that frailty window, and then eventually into disability. So the capability of slowing that down is really knowing what your Thrive screen scores are. So what do we measure? We often call these things tests. I don't like to call them tests. I think we should really consider it as a measurement. So what we're measuring, we're looking at your energy, strength, balance, flexibility, and mind. And those are the 5 areas that we will be screening. So what do we measure? And why does it matter to you? So we do a particular test that we're going to measure your energy. We measure that by you walking a certain distance over a certain period of time. And that gives us an indication of how is your energy. We take a look at your heart and lungs and see how they respond to that time that you're walking. And that particular score also can relate to balance issues. Next, we take a look at your leg strength. The leg strength would predict a future possibility of increased falls, a possible disability within the next 1 to 6 years, and your need to possibly transition to another level of care. Does anyone have an idea, if you've been to the screening event, we do the sit to stand test. It's a 30-second test. We see how many times you're able to get up and down out of a chair without using your arms. Anyone have a guesstimate of how many times at your age that you should be able to do that? 1? Well, I hope you can do at least 1. Anyone? So what, and the average age of your population here, mid-80s, 85, you should be able to do that somewhere between 9 and 15 times. So it's a great test you can do on your own. If you can't, that means those muscles, the largest muscle group in your body, the quadriceps, are very weak. So it's very difficult for you to get up and down out of a chair. You do put yourself at a higher risk. So it's something that you could work on. So this is a quote from Mary Tinetti. She actually developed a balance test that we use in therapy a lot. And she says leg strength, not diagnosis, not cholesterol level, not age, not medication use, not any of the usual measurements, but leg strength was the single most powerful predictor as whether a person is going to have to go to a nursing home. So I think that's a really strong statement. What else do we measure? Grip strength. Sometimes we'll either do grip strength or the 30-second chair rise, but we also can measure your grip strength, and that predicts mortality rates of death, mortality, or morbidity of disease, overall body weakness, and general frailty. Next test that we do, the flamingo test, I call it, standing on one leg. This particular test predicts the likelihood of injurious falls, and then it also correlates to your leg weakness. So if you have weak legs, generally your balance is also weak. We check your flexibility. So we want you all to have that nice tall posture. So everyone should be sitting nice and straight in their chair and not slouched over. So we actually check the distance between the occiput, the backbone here sticking out of the back of your head, to the distance from the wall. And that will possibly predict future compression fractures, previous compression fractures, postural problems, and balance problems. And lastly, the one that everyone loves the most is the mind. So the mind test, this is a test that we look at mild cognitive impairment versus dementia, signs of dementia. It would indicate a possible decline in brain function throughout the years. It's a number one risk factor for cognitive decline. Okay, so once a year, you go to your doctor. How long does it take you to get all of those tests done and screening? And then you have to go back because he's got to tell you all your results, right? So our test takes 30 minutes. We try to make it very convenient and quick for you, get you in and out. I set you up one-on-one with a therapist, and they'll go through those 5 areas and give you your results immediately. And then on the back side, I'll take that information and I'll go back into our database to see if you've come to one of our events before. I'll give you your historical data so you can see. Last year I could do 15 sit-to-stands. This year I could only do 10. What changed? What happened? So you have that information. And guess what? Best of all, it's free. It costs you 30 minutes of your time once a year. So really want to encourage, Karen, you mentioned to me on the way in today, you showed up last week for your screening. Any info for the group that you think's useful?
I went for my screening. John did too, and I learned that I have a balance issue. I couldn't do that flamingo thing very long, so Lisa suggested that I start going to one of Robin's strength and balance classes. So I am starting to do that. So I learned that about myself just from doing that screening.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Sally?
I have a question about charge. Do you send a charge to Medicare, and how do you code it?
We do not. It is absolutely free for the screening event. So when we bring you here to the multipurpose room, you have an individual one-on-one session of about 30 minutes, and it's a free service. We do not bill Medicare for that at all. We provide you with the information, and it's entirely up to you what you do with that. Just want to bust some of the myths. Someone had asked me, do we report that to your physician? Absolutely not. I give you your sheet of paper. That's up to you. You get to decide. I am going to check whether I recommend maybe you going to a fitness class or maybe discussing the results with your doctor and getting an order for therapy. And that's what we want you to use that, you to use that information. We won't be reporting it. So,
Just a comment in addition to what Karen said, I was anti this all the way. And I was actually forced, if you will, to go through this. But I found it to be an very interesting and helpful exercise. I'm not nearly as good as I thought I was. I think some of you will find that to be true, and that may even be the reason why you haven't done it. Ignorance is bliss, as they say. Well, at our age, and all of us are at different ages, but we're all up there, I think you don't want to be ignorant of your potential. So I encourage you. It doesn't hurt, and you'll benefit.
thank you so much. I appreciate both of you. Yes?
How do you sign up for it?
These I'm going to get to that just a little bit. So the signups will be on the bulletin board over here at East. We do once a month at East. It's always the first Tuesday of the month, and at West, the last Wednesday of the month. So there will be a sign-up sheet in both locations. You're free to join either one. If for some reason that time doesn't work for you, give me a call. I will set up an individual appointment for you at a time that's convenient. Our therapists are situated throughout the campus, so I can make sure we make that time available for you. Yes.
Lisa, the sit-stand activity, when I came in, there was a lot of humor as a result of whether or not a person can do 1, 15, or 500. The point is there an actual measure that you could apply for each individual to help them improve on the sit-stand numbers?
Absolutely. So if there is a deficit in one particular area or multiple areas, the therapist can give you a program that would be you would have to come to therapy, and we would have to work with you over a period of time to develop the program. We wouldn't be able to give you a program when you come to the screening event. That's really to identify where the issues are and what needs to be worked on, and whether or not just a general fitness class would be beneficial, or do you really need a more dive-in of a professional therapist to develop a program for you? So if your scores are great, that's wonderful. We want you to come back next year and just keep checking that benchmark, just using it as a benchmark. This is where I am, this is where I want to be, or I'm doing great and everything that I'm doing is working for me. So just utilize that as your own knowledge. I think that you put it very well. Some people think they're better than they are, and you just utilize that information as your own knowledge and do with what you would like with it. So, any more questions? All right, thank you all so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, we're going to move on now. We've got a couple of topics that are going to be presented. Rich Lutz has asked to come forward and say a few words.
I just want to mention a few things about FLYCRA, but it's very difficult to follow. I think the last time I spoke, I followed the trash talkers. Very, very difficult to compete against them. Now I have what, let me think now. We have the rats, of course, and we have the snakes and moose, and I'm not sure that's singular or plural, probably plural, I think. So anyway, I'm here. And the screening on the brain, of course, somebody stole mine about, I think it was about a year and a half ago, so I don't qualify for the screening. So anyway, I just have a couple of brief announcements to make, essentially, and the first of which is that there was a FLYCRA article in the most recent issue of the Express, which provided notice of a Wednesday, November 10th at 9:30, East and West Chapter co-hosting of several legislators. And these legislators will be the speaker at that particular program. And they are specifically a Senator and Majority Leader, Debbie Mayfield, and additionally, the Indian River County House Representative, who is Erin Grawl. Each legislator is going to be talking about what they consider to be important topics which will come to fore in front of the Senate and the House this coming January when they start to convene. And following the presentation, there'll be a Q&A, question and answer session. And I previously heard both of these speakers, and I can say that they're very, very impressive and quite informative. While FLYCRA is not political in nature and does not endorse any particular individual or party, we have to work essentially to build up relationships with our legal representatives so that they can understand the unique situations that we have within the confines of a CCRC, and also provide us with protection when it comes to be protected, and also support in so many different situations. At present, it's not possible to tell what the maximum number of people will be at this particular function because we have the virus and there's lots of variables related to the virus. It changes virtually every day. We're in a positive scenario right now, so we're optimistic that they'll be fairly close to allowing us to have a number of people which would reach pretty closely to the capacity of the West multi-purpose room. There's going to be some future notices about this event, and we encourage, we being the board members in our chapter here in East, and also the board members in West, that you join us, and that's on November 10th. And from personal experience and knowing the people and also hearing them communicate their thoughts, I think you will not be disappointed. There is a second item, and it's more, I guess, it's more popular at this juncture, and it relates to the October 19th FLICRA party for members and non-members. Our board is very, very thankful that there is a level of interest generated internally here that has been displayed on the number of people that have actually signed the sheets outside. Originally, we had a capacity of 70, and Scott has been gracious enough to reevaluate the situation. And as a result thereof, we're talking more in terms of 80 at this juncture. So we can expand a little bit and have more people in here. I'm aware of the fact, if you looked at the sign-up sheets, there is clearly much more than 80. So as a result, we're not going to be able to accommodate everyone. There's an underlying problem in situations like this that has to be addressed, I guess, by us, obviously. And it pertains to the fact that people do sign up and don't always come. And that's a problem because it's not a problem so much when you have enough capacity where it's not an issue. But in this particular instance, we're talking about a finite number, and we're talking about in excess of that finite number. So I urge you to reevaluate the situation as quickly as possible and make a determination as to whether or not you will or want to attend it. Because once you're crossed off the list, that opens up the situation to so many others. And I think that's the right and a fair thing to do. So please personally evaluate the situation. If the determination is negative, that you're not coming for whatever reason, please cross it off so we can adjust the list to show that we have 80 people that really want to be with us. So that's pretty much my messages in item 1 or item 2. So I guess maybe I haven't completely lost my brain. I think. Maybe I have. Maybe I think I haven't lost my brain in the process. But I don't know if there's any questions or any thoughts. Okay. So we're not political. I know that's been said. We're political. We're not. We work with politicians and we try to protect us, and we don't care about politics. Yes.
Is it just in the multipurpose room that you're proposing to?
The function?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did I not say that? I might have missed
Well,
it. It is the West multipurpose
I guess why
room.
not expand out to the lobby area and you could accommodate more people?
Yeah, there's a lot more you can do because you use the chapel, and it's been done in the past, and I think the capacity is like 250 or somewhere in that vicinity. So when you introduce the chapel as a venue or an additional venue, you have a situation wherein you can accommodate. We're not realistically, we're not talking about that. Many people don't care much about legislation, really. Well, they care about it, but yet they don't want to address the minutia involved in it. And in this particular circumstance, you may hear some minutia. Yes.
One second.
Well, we're talking about, I'm sorry. Okay, let me make it clear. Thank you, Bob. I think maybe I mixed it up. The legislators' meeting will be at West. The party, if you will, the FLICRA party, Oktoberfest, which we've named it, is here. It wouldn't be at West. It would be here. So it is here for the Oktoberfest, which is coming up a week from, well, actually 8 days from today. It's on a Tuesday. So next Tuesday. And and West is the one, we're co-hosting the function, the legislators' function, with the West chapter. So it's East and West combining, co-hosting, and that will be held in West, with the thought being, and I guess this is an optimistic thought, that there's going to be so many people there that you can open up the chapel and house them, but practically speaking, I don't think that's an issue, but it's going to be at West. And we have some people that have volunteered to do some work for us, and we're very happy for that. I know Nelson said he would help us, and John Ripsek and a couple of other people, and we're really very thankful that they're stepping up to the plate and giving us some aid in the circumstances that we'll become involved with. So, anything else? Okay, thanks a lot, appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich. And at your request, I decided to switch you and the trash talkers. So now we have Joyce Moreland, who's going to present something. But see, Joyce now has to follow you. So Joyce, come forward for our monthly trash talk.
Good morning. So, Rich, now it's my turn to say, I'm following FLYCRA. Okay. And I'm so glad that Jeff stayed with us because my trash talk has evolved into that bad smell and the problems in the recycling room. And what I've been told is that the recycling rooms are being sanitized and they will be cleaned up by maintenance personnel and a pest control company. So as trash talkers, we're counting on that because it is so important that where we recycle, what we are recycling is clean and that the room that we take it into is clean. And we thank you, Jeff, for working to make that so. We do appreciate that. So when the recycling rooms are back in business, the trash talkers are planning to make periodic audits of each room. And we're going to use the system that Susan Flack introduced us to, where we will give the rooms a grade from A to F. We will inform the residents by posting their grade and the violations found on the door after we've done the audit. So today, I only want to give you some tips so that everyone can get an A. First, no paper containers that have wax or mylar coatings. That includes those aseptic packages. That includes the orange juice and milk containers. They have a wax coating. And what you may not know is that for the recycling, there has to be a market for it. And nobody is recycling or taking those paper containers that have the wax and the mylar. None of those things can be recycled because there is no market and there are no people who are recycling them or giving them another use. So if you would not include in your recycling, please, the containers that come from IRE kitchens, if Anne would hold up her coffee cup, please do not put those in the recycling. It is paper, yes, but it is the wrong paper. It goes in the trash, please. Okay, all the other containers, that even the fruit, the soup, in the trash. Thank you. That's one tip. The next tip are the boxes. We want them flattened. And as Sally said to us last time, if you can open the top, you can open the bottom and flatten it out. I'm going to ask Tina, because maybe there are some who don't have the strength or the will to flatten the box. I'm going to ask Tina if she could include that in the assignments of the workers who come in the morning to check the hallway. So if you can't flatten your box, I'm going to ask you to put it outside your door and let it be picked up and flattened by someone else. Okay. The other thing, no plastic bags, please. Susan told us over and over, those are tanglers. Don't put your recycling stuff in a plastic bag and then put it in there. That's a plastic bag. No plastic bags, no napkins, and no paper towels, or no traces of food on anything. So if that peanut butter jar is empty and you don't want to spend gallons of water trying to clean it out, put it in the trash. Put it in the trash. Don't, if it has food of any kind, don't put it in the recycling. Okay? Now, once the trash rooms and the recycling rooms are all sanitized and ready for us, we're going to audit and let you know what your grades are. Thank you.
Yes, question? Okay, just to repeat that, what she's suggesting is that the lids on the recycling containers be closed at all times. She recognizes the difficulty that some of our residents might have. My concern would be that I think a higher percentage of our residents than you might be thinking would have some difficulties. So I'm not sure that's something that would happen or we could recommend at this point, but thanks for that suggestion. So, Sally.
Another suggestion. The people who are home health needs to educate their workers because I'm dumpster diving as usual, and what I have is a neighbor who insists that the milk cartons are recyclable, and her home health person has to put them in the recycle. So I dumpster dive and take them out and put them in the garbage. But home health and our cleaning staff need to know the recycle rules because they are violating them.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen that happen as well, yes. Okay, any other questions there? We're going to move on. I have been asked by Robin, if you go by the, and I think most of us do on a somewhat regular basis, the sign-up tables, they have been advertising and soliciting for participants in our virtual Olympiacs. Some of the sheets have maybe one name on them. Those tryouts are beginning today. The sheets are still out there. They're really wanting more participants. So if you've been thinking about it, or even if you haven't been thinking about it and should be thinking about it, go by there and put your name down and pay attention to the time frame that the tryouts are listed there. So I think the first one is at 1:30 today. It's putting. I happen to be signed up for that. But, she really wants a good representation. We have consistently come out on top of every Olympiacs competition, and Robin certainly wants us to continue to come out on top. But in order to do that, we need more participation. So please take a look at those sign-up sheets and add your name where appropriate. I have a spot here for committee, any committee reports. I don't know that we've got any committee that, in the audience that has anything they'd like to say. Not seeing anybody leap up. I'm going to move on. Our next item is our bylaws vote. As you all know, last month, or at least most of you do, our new residents perhaps don't know that, but last month we did a rather in-depth discussion of the amendments that were being recommended by your board to our bylaws. There were very few questions at that point in time, and I can tell you that I've only had one question in the month that's followed. And that one question was relative to Section 801, which simply talks about date, time, and place. The recommendation, or the previous wording was the president shall set the date, time, and place for all regular monthly board meetings, special meetings, and the 2 general meetings each year. You really have to understand that wording. It's not suggesting that there are required monthly meetings. And the 2 general meetings are really the resident meetings. So the board, I believe in their wisdom, suggested that we simplify that wording, and that the wording now is the president shall set the date, time, and place for all board meetings. Again, precedent has been set for many years in that whenever possible, there is a monthly residents meeting. There is no intention on the part of this board, nor I believe any future board would likely suggest that they're not going to have a meeting just because they don't feel like having one. The intent of this is to be very simple. There is a move afoot, I think, and it's possible that it might occur next year, where a procedural do's and don'ts manual might be prepared, and that would dig deeper into some of this information and spell out, some of these things. But I know another place in the bylaws which was not affected by the amendments was where it was saying that a director could be removed if they failed to attend 7 meetings a year. That's still in there. So that suggests to you that there's a lot of meetings going on during the year. Again, there's no intent for us to eliminate monthly meetings. We're simply simplifying the wording and in this particular case. So are there any other, the board, by the way, has moved and seconded that these amendments be approved. We're now in a final discussion time. Are there any other comments relative to the amendments that are before you? Not seeing any, we will vote. At this point, we will just simply vote by a voice vote. So all those in favor of the amendments, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. I actually had on my agenda resident input, parentheses, rats. We've already covered that, so we don't need to cover that again. There is an opportunity, as you've already heard, tomorrow for the Ask the Directors. There will be another opportunity for people who wish to comment further on that. So we will now open the floor to any questions. We're in our Q&A period, so are there any other questions that anyone has? And some help maybe as far as the microphones are concerned. We got one here. I see Erilyn and Jeff. And I think it's Nelson that was first. Okay, go ahead. We're already there. Go ahead.
I don't need the mic on. Thank you.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. This is being This is being recorded.
Oh. Thank you. I wasn't here for a couple of days, so I do not know when it started. but does anybody know why the coffee machine is not working today? And it was kind of shocking. I put my cup underneath, stick a stirrer in it, put my cream in it, put my sugar in it, and press the button, and nothing. I said, maybe the decaf doesn't work. Let me try the regular. Same baloney. Did anybody report that? Because I tell you, at this age, we need a cup of coffee in the morning.
Nelson, at this age, you need a cup of coffee in the morning. I experienced the same thing this morning with coffee, along with another resident in here that I don't see right now. But if the machine is not working, and I know that they're working on it, coffee is available in the bistro as well. Yeah, they're working on it. There was some glitch this morning, so. Yeah, it literally worked for the person before me and then didn't work for the resident after her, so.
Okay, communication
we'll get a
communication
sign up.
is complete. Let's move on.
I would just like to share that there was a little over $2,000 that was collected for the tribute to Lynn Rawlinson. We had 27 donors, and those contributions will go to the IRE Chapel Fund.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
I am wondering, when are you going to open up the store again? That is really missed.
The store, you meaning the...
Perkins.
Only I can tell you, but I know Scott has reported on that. The company that he was initially, that had initially expressed some interest and that he hoped were going to take that, have stepped away from that. He has no active prospects at the moment, but he's still obviously eyes and ears wide open if there is an opportunity, but nothing on the short horizon. Okay, anything else? Right behind you, Erilyn.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think he's next.
I'm just curious about how you, as a board, decide what you're gonna start working on or take into consideration of.
Well, obviously, resident input is important to us. Most of us do receive, not necessarily every month, but we receive items of suggestion from individual residents, and obviously our board members have ideas about things. One of the key factors, I think, about serving on the board or on a committee is that we recognize that we are totally advisory in nature. As bad as it may sound, we don't make a lot of decisions or create a lot of issues. Because again, we are advisory. We try to discuss and pass along as much information as that comes available to us. But staff, whether it be senior staff or department heads or whatever, are free to accept our suggestions or recommendations or not. So,
How do residents communicate?
I'm sorry?
How do residents communicate?
There is a box in the bank room that people can put items in. I check it regularly, at least once a week. That's actually where I found the question about the bylaw issue. I have received other items, most of which relate to administration. And I simply pass those ideas on.
I was here for 3 years before I even heard about that box. Can we make that more visible or more, I don't know, accessible?
Yeah, the other thing, obviously, we publish the directors, the board of directors, and so communication opportunities exist with each and every one of those directors. We typically don't run out of things to talk about, but certainly we're always open to receiving more information.
There was a wooden slat removed from the third floor of the A building on the wall at least a month ago. We're told that it was removed to put into an apartment that was being renovated. It's very unattractive.
Well, I'm sorry, what was it again?
At least 1 month ago.
And what was it that was removed?
The wooden slat from the wall. And we're told it was removed to be used in an apartment that was being renovated. So we have this big space all along the wall.
Jeff
At
is
least
telling
a coat of paint would help it.
Jeff is telling me that's being resolved. I didn't know anything about that, so. Okay, anything else? Dan?
Say, earlier in this meeting, it was, in the Thrive presentation, it was referred, we talked about screening people for falls and how seniors, of course, we all are potentially could have a fall, and we know that, I know, and I guess maybe people raise their hands, people that know people that have fallen and couldn't get up, and there was a problem, and sometimes there's been a bad outcome. I personally know someone that died as a result of it. So this is a problem that residents have been complaining about it for a while. I know that corporate is looking at it, and we have a number of initiatives like K4 Connect and the I'm okay, you're okay buttons, which have now gone to motion sensors. And there's now an initiative to try and get so that we can detect falls outside, and we're spending potentially a lot of money to put antennas outside. I've asked to give a presentation about a device, a wearable that I have on my wrist that can detect falls, it can intervene, it can get you help no matter where you are in the United States or Canada, and it can give a precise GPS location, and it's a personalized response where they know who you are and can advise the first responders appropriately. I've been told that I have to deal with corporate, and I'm doing that, and I'm dealing with some of the people in corporate about it. However, I was also told that if people want to talk to me on a one-on-one basis in the meantime until something happens with corporate, that's okay. So I'll be in the back. I have some brochures. I can show you this device if you're interested. It's an insurance policy. We're here because we have an insurance policy against long-term health care. And so this is another insurance policy. And I'd like to, anyone that'd like to talk to me about it, I'll be in the back. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Another one back here.
This is, excuse me, this is just in regard to doors being left open to the outdoors. And it's not always residents who are doing it. It is outside workmen and some of our own workmen who leave them open. I, for one, am very happy to unhitch any door that is left open, and I do it regularly.
As do I. Yeah. Okay, anything else? Not seeing any? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you next month.